to Stack the Deck with the House of Cards podcast. The show where we break down the art of creative real estate investing. Join us as we dive into the world of real estate with insider tips and tricks for making your investments go further. From buying with no money down to flipping properties for profit, we've got you covered. Plus, stay tuned for expert guest speakers who will share their knowledge and experience in this ever-changing market. So grab a seat and get ready to learn the secrets to success in real estate investing. And now, from Alaska to New York, your hosts, Chris James and Jesse Stanton.
Yo, good morning. Happy Saturday. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. Is the mic on today?
The mic is on today. I can hear you.
I just want to make sure.
You sound good. Sure. You look even better, bro.
Thanks, man. So those who don't know, today is Jesse's birthday.
Oh,
he wasn't going to tell a lot of people, but just wanted to throw that out there. Today is his big, what is it, 3-3 or 3-4?
The big 3-3, dude. Yeah, okay. Me and you are 20 days apart, bro.
Yeah, man.
Who would have known?
Small world, man. Small world. And you're camping this weekend, which is phenomenal. Still working, which I love. And I, more so even for the last 48 hours for me specifically, traveling. Guys, if you're gonna travel, make sure you're prepared for it mentally. Especially the long 48 hours. I know a lot of people I communicate with, they know I went to Texas on Wednesday. And through Texas, I met a lot of amazing individuals. Went to go see a couple properties that we have on the contract and that we're going to move forward on. So we're so excited about that as well. So it's pretty neat. It's just pretty neat. But more so, I need a traveling buddy next time. Just where I'm geared to. I had to sleep at two hotels and all that crap. But I made it back. It was a 27-hour drive. It was amazing. I wouldn't change anything. Man. So we today got a special guest. I'm actually pretty excited about this one. Heard a lot of amazing things about this individual, and one, he's a subto student as well, and two, how he acquired 30 doors within his first year in subto. I think that's pretty neat. So that's gonna be pretty interesting. I'm pretty excited about this, and he's going to explain exactly what his process looked like and how he acquired those. Because everyone knows within real estate specifically, it can be very challenging doing it yourself. So I'm actually very interested to see what his process looked like and what that looks like moving forward for maybe potentially help other individuals. So, but before we bring him on, I just want to say also, guys, don't forget to subscribe. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, whatever your favorite playlist is, or I don't know what you guys use these days, but we're on all platforms.
We're on it.
Definitely on all platforms. And before I jump in to that, Pam, amazing to see you. You're phenomenal. Pam is phenomenal. Rocio is actually one of the individuals I went to go see. She's amazing spirit. Genuine. Oh God, words can't really describe her personality. We had an amazing time when I was down there. She showed me around San Antonio, Texas. I don't know if I can live there though. I'm just throwing that out there. The weather is ridiculous. It's too damn hot for me. Our 90 or our 100 degrees is a little bit different from their 100 degrees and humid, and I was not meant to prepare for that. But Rocio, thanks again. You're amazing. I literally just got back to like 2:30 this morning. I'm super tired, but I'm here. But amazing. Definitely was great meeting you. Angel, great seeing you in Kentucky. Great seeing you in Kentucky as well. I feel like it was an adventure, but see some amazing people. Had a great time. I definitely had a great time.
Chris literally saw everybody else except me, and Alaska was on his way, which was even more a kick in the face.
Absolutely. No worries. So I know you're with Alex and the kids in the camper right now, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
How long you guys gonna be there?
We're down in a place called Valdez. We've never been to Valdez before. So we thought, hey, this would be kind of a neat place to go spend my birthday weekend. And dude, it was awesome. I got some Instagram live footage yesterday. We took the kids out fishing. and they got to all reel in their fish. And it was awesome, man. Because a lot of the streams and rivers and stuff that I typically go fishing, that's a little rough for kids. And my oldest is 8, and so where we went fishing yesterday, we went out to the ocean. And as the tide was going out, you can kind of chase the tide, and then you can cast in there. And so it's fairly safe, and the kids had a great time. So we had the whole family out there. My 2-year-old was out there. Everybody's out there. And what's really cool about where we were fishing in particular was you can snag. And if you're not familiar with fishing or what the term snagging means, it's basically I've got a hook. It's almost the size of my fist.
Okay.
And it's got it's got like three treble hooks on it, or 3 hooks on it. And it's weighted. It weighs about 10 ounces. And you can cast this thing out. There's no bait. There's nothing like that on this hook. And it's just this big hook. It's like a Batman grappling hook or something, man. And you cast it out into the water. And then you as soon as it lands, you let it sink. And then you just pull your rod and your line through the water like you're ripping it. And then you reel in the slack, and then you just rip it. And you can snag fish. So whether you catch a fish, whether the hook snags on the tail, in the side, in the head, you don't got to get it in the mouth. You can snag them wherever, and it's legal.
I feel like
so we took the kids out to do that.
I feel like Alaska is just bored and making up stuff. Alaska, we're going to call this a game. We're going to try this out this week. Because I think you told me about something called something netting. I can't think of, what was it?
Oh, dip netting. Yeah.
And that's something like you guys do down there is like a law and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to be an Alaska resident to dip net. And so anyway, kids had a good time, man. And we got pictures and video. I said this year, you guys got to be the one to bleed your fish. You got to cut the gills. You got to be the one to clean your fish, all that fun stuff. So we got a lot of fun video footage of the kids trying to summon up the courage to do that, to get uncomfortable. So it was a lot of fun.
It's amazing, man. Amazing.
Yeah,
one day I get down there. One day.
Yeah, we'll get you up here, man. But yeah, like to Chris's point, the individual that we're bringing up, guys, Chris and I, for those of you guys who've been following us, we're kind of doing a little bit of a pivot in our business as well. We've been really, really aggressively wholesaling for about the last 10 months or so, 11 months, and we're kind of taking more of a pivot towards buy and hold. And this individual that we're bringing up, if you guys are wanting to get more intentional with picking up more properties, then take a couple seconds right now, go grab a pen and a paper and get ready to take some notes. This individual picked up over 30 doors in his first year in sub 2. So super amazing. Ella, thank you very much. I really appreciate all the birthday wishes. Thank you guys. I love you. So anyway, without further ado, let's bring him up. There he is. Eric, what's going on, baby? How are you, man?
Appreciate you guys having me today. How you guys doing?
Good. It's a pleasure to have you, man. Thank you very much for being here. I mean, talk about stacking the deck. So I don't know if you knew. So we called our podcast The House of Cards because with real estate, you've been doing this long enough. You already know. You never know what hand you're going to get dealt.
Yeah. It's always an adventure. That's for sure.
100%. So we thought, hey, you know what? What if we did a podcast where we can bring people up here, and with the information, the value that we're going to give everybody, at least we can help everyone stack the deck. So you, sir, are definitely doing that. So we really appreciate the opportunity to have you on. So thank you again.
I appreciate for bringing me on. It's exciting. It's my first full-fledged podcast I've been on, so it's awesome.
First of many. We'll really appreciate you.
Yeah.
So let's every superhero has their origin story. For everybody who doesn't know you, where does that start for you?
It starts in West Virginia. It's where I originally am from. My background is in construction, so I was in the military right out of high school, essentially, because I grew up in a very poor part of West Virginia. There's not a lot of jobs, not a lot of opportunity. The only way that I thought I could make something of myself is to get out, and the military was the easiest way to do that. So I joined the Army in 2004. Was in a short time, and I got hurt, unfortunately. Hurt my shoulder and got a honorable discharge, medical discharge, within 2 years of being in the military. And it was off to the races. I had to figure out what the next chapter was. So I went from the military and got into construction, industrial construction. I joined a local union that went through an apprenticeship trade school for 4 years, and built myself up from not knowing anything as far as industrial construction to where I was a superintendent for the last 6-8 years that I was doing that, running billion-dollar jobs. Having the last job that I did was 30 minutes above Pittsburgh. It was an $8 billion plant. I had at one point 573 people that were underneath of me at any one time. To try and build that plant. So yeah, it was quite a shift from where you come from to where you can get to in that line of field. But so I was there for 2 years, working 6 and 7 days, 10 to 14-hour days, pretty much every day, and that's kind of where I started in real estate. Ironically, I finished that job up, and I had an opportunity to go to the next big job, which was Minnesota. And then I had gotten married while I was in Pittsburgh to the most beautiful woman in the world, the love of my life. And she has 2 younger kids. And when I finished in Pittsburgh, I just really had to stop and evaluate if I wanted to be gone for another 2-3 years and miss that family time. I needed to find something that let me be home and be able to provide the way that I needed to provide. So we went on vacation. On vacation, I decided that I wasn't going on the road again. I was going to be home and be done. And I had to find something that supplemented that income. Being, on a giant job like that, I was making, a really good 6-figure income. So the only thing that I could think of would be real estate. So I started looking into different real estate things. I looked into wholesaling initially. I almost joined in with Astro Flipping and their mentorship and getting in with Jamil and doing that. And it just looked like you can never really get ahead doing wholesaling. You're always chasing a deal, always chasing money.
Right. It's a grind, bro. It's a grind.
It is.
Up to this point, when you're looking over your options, had you even heard of wholesaling? Were you familiar with what that was, or okay?
Not at all.
Just kind of feeling
my
it out.
nephew,
Okay.
my nephew actually got into it when he got out of high school. He started wholesaling and he made $5 or $6 grand off of his first deal, and just kind of told me about it. He said, "Hey, you could do this and get into it, make $5,000 or $10,000 a deal, and do 2 or 3 deals a month. It would make the same money you were making doing construction." So he kind of introduced it to me as like a little 18-year-old making his way, So it just didn't really feel right for me. But because I had looked so much into wholesaling and the best way to get into it, best way about it, those algorithms started to bring up a lot of Pace Morby stuff. So,
happened to all of us, man. And we're thankful for
it. So I fell down that rabbit hole and watched every YouTube video known to man for Pace. And that just felt right. It felt exactly like what I wanted to do and the direction I wanted to go, because it's something that can create, passive income month over month to where you're not chasing a deal. You are essentially securing your future with every deal. And that felt better for me and for my family. So after having the discussion with my wife, which was an interesting discussion, she said, "Oh, you're giving up $200,000 a year to go and do this that you've never done ever, and you know nothing about. And you also want to spend, the $10,000 to do it." Yeah, that was my first hard sell in real estate and getting that. So got that out the gate. Yeah. So that's what I did. June of 22 is when I joined subto.
Last year. Okay, so 13 months ago.
Yeah. So I joined June of last year. And my thought process when I got into it was, there are people that I'm competing against after these deals that have 5, 10, 15, 20 years of experience in real estate. They know everything there is to know about it. I know nothing. I come from construction. So I needed to shorten the gap from what they know to what I know. Yep. So from June to September, I essentially did 16-hour days nonstop, 6 a.m. till midnight, give or take. And I went through every piece of content that was in the subto vault. I talked to everybody in subto I can have a conversation with. I went through all of the bonus Zooms for door knocking, pre-foreclosures, everything that I could find that would educate me as fast as possible to be able to start acquiring properties, to be able to secure an income to support my family. Because at this point, I didn't have an income. Like once I jumped into this cold turkey. I didn't do another construction job, which is not the way to do it. I want to put that out there. Do not do that. Because it was very stressful. It was a lot of undue pressure to do that. There was a lot of difficult weeks and a lot of doubt and a lot of headaches because you're giving up security for the unknown. And
absolutely,
I would not recommend people doing that. But I'm always hit the gas pedal type of a person. So that's the way that it just happened to work out for me.
So when you join Sub2 and you're going through all this content and you're kind of just trying to figure out and talking to all these people and trying to figure out what way you're going to move forward in this, was it at this point that you realized that you didn't want to wholesale, or did you know before you even joined Sub2 that wholesaling wasn't going to be for you?
I knew that wholesaling was going to be something that I did, but it was going to be like very minimal. Like if wholesale was not going to be primary of what I was going to be doing. If we found a deal and it just didn't make sense for us because it was, just outside of our target market, we would wholesale that just to be able to make sure that we're using every opportunity possible. But it was not going to be the centerfold of our business strategy or my business strategy at this point. So, my first direction once I went through all the content was I needed to figure out a way to supplement the income that I had before. So like I said, I made about $200,000 a year on average when I was doing construction. So the only thing that I could think of initially that would make that up in the shortest amount of time was giant multifamily deals. You know what I mean? You could get in with 4 or 5 guys, hit one big multifamily, and you can have a $50,000 or $60,000 once you get your share after everything. You know what I mean? On a 200 unit property. So I thought, well, if I did 1 or 2 of those in 1 year, that would be a huge leap toward getting to my goal, and that's what I wanted to focus on. So that's all I focused on from essentially August on. Once I got my bearings about me on everything that I learned from the vault. So I started tackling as many big multifamilies as I could find.
That's interesting. So you joined Sub2, and then about 6 to 8 weeks later, after you've talked to all these people, you've gone through all this content, and you've decided, hey, this is the direction that I want to go. I'd love to hear from your perspective, like some of the mindset stuff that you were going through. Because I know there's a lot of people inside and outside of Sub2 where they feel like, man, I've got the keys of the kingdom now, and I've got the people. And I think a lot of people cut themselves short and wanting to start in wholesaling simply just because they either don't have the confidence or don't know how to take down properties. Like, how did you get to that point where you were like, hey, you know what? I've never done this stuff before, and I've got a little bit clarity on the direction that I want to go. And you know what? Whether we're talking 20 million properties, 50 million, 10 million, I mean, once you start getting into those 7 digits, it's intimidating to a lot of people. And that alone can be a factor, just keeping them from wanting to move forward or having the confidence to say, hey, I can do this. Can you go into some of those? What was your mindset as you're gathering all this information and making that decision, saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this, and I can get other people to come in on this, and it's who, not how.
My mindset essentially was, don't fail. I mean, that's the only thing that was running through my head. Don't fail. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You took a chance. You took your shot at something that, could, if done right, provide generational wealth for my wife and kids, right? I cannot fail. Like, whatever I'm doing, do not fail. Like, if I mess up this, I mess up this, I mess up this, great. Learn from it. Don't do it again. Keep stepping forward. Like, it just, like, relentless progression is what I always kind of contributed to. My personality as far as a person is obsessive. Like that's why I could do 16-hour days on everything for weeks and weeks on end, is because I have to be obsessive about whatever I'm involved in. I cannot do halfway in and halfway out. I don't work that way. Like if I'm not giving absolutely everything I have to it, there's no way that I'm going to be as successful as I should have been. And then I'm always going to regret that. You know what I mean? So I don't have regrets on anything that I ever do because I have that mentality going into it. And I was nervous. I mean, I was very, very nervous about taking this step. Like I'm not 20 anymore. I'm not 25. I'm 38, almost 40. You know what I mean? To completely change what I've done for over half my life. I mean, I did 17 years in construction, 18 years in construction. You know what I mean? Half my life was given to that, to completely pivot and change. I was very nervous, very nerve-wracking. You know what I mean? So
I can imagine.
Compartmentalize. Yeah, I had to compartmentalize that as well to make sure that, you know, I didn't allow doubt to kind of push me in a direction that I wasn't comfortable going. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people that I see, especially coming into sub 2, and I'm in a lot of non-sub 2 groups as well that I reach out and involve with, people doubt what they can do because this is all new to them. This is not something that they're comfortable with. They've never talked to sellers one-on-one or cold called or did these sorts of things that, you know, make them nervous and make them uncomfortable with themselves. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Amazing feeling. I think it's an amazing feeling to be uncomfortable and then overcome that, because how many times do you do that before you don't doubt yourself anymore? You know what I mean? I think that's a lot of what people need to start bringing into their day-to-day. You know, be uncomfortable in something, whatever it is, and then do it anyway. Once you do that, you can look back at 5 times that you were uncomfortable this week and say, yeah, I knocked it out of the park. You know what I mean? Next week, you're not going to be uncomfortable. You're going to take all of those like they're common things and build off of it. Next week, 5 more uncomfortable things. You know what I mean? And just keep rolling with it.
I love that, brother. Thank you for sharing that. So so August hits, and then you make that decision that you're going to jump into multifamily, and this is going to be the way that you're going to go. Okay,
that was the way I was going to go. And
so what is the process there? Did you? Oh, you were wrong.
So,
Man, now where I thought we were going with that. That's hilarious. Okay.
Plot twist. Yeah. So August, that was the path that I wanted to go. That was where I thought was the easiest direction. So that was what I thought was going to be the easiest way for me to make the money I thought I needed. Right. And I started reaching out to everybody in multifamily. I started reaching out to wholesalers, brokers, anybody that was in the multifamily space. I was on a first name basis with people from Arizona to Maine on multifamily, right? All of August, I was just finding these people that had these connections in multifamilies and trying to find a foothold in order to get into it. I met a couple of people that were multifamily experts in sub 2, and I'd bring them deals, and they would say, yeah, this is great. But not really a deal. This is why. And I got a little education from why it wasn't. So that way, the next time I just kept eliminating those types of deals. And then about mid-September, I found a property that I thought would be a great Morby deal. Pace teaches Morby method, right? So I thought it was going to be a great Morby method deal to get into. And I reached out on sub 2 and said, you know, who has done Morby deals? Can anybody help me kind of structure or underwrite this? We could JV on it. And I was recommended to a couple of sub 2 students that had done an 18-unit Morby deal in Texas, and talked to them. They said, yeah, you know, we just finished this one. We know a lot about it. Bring us your deals and we'll do the underwriting on it, and then we'll JV on it. And I said, so you're telling me if I bring you a deal, you guys will do the underwriting on the multifamily, we'll JV the deal together, and then we'll do the deal. And they said, absolutely. I said, are you sure about this? Because I'm not a normal human. When you tell me, all I got to do is bring you a deal. Like, so, you're going to open Pandora's box. I just want to make sure you guys know what you're doing. And they said, yeah, absolutely. So shout out to my partners, Nick Pedrick and Mike Ferruzzi. God, I probably put them through a time when I did this, but I was bringing them, you know, 10 to 20 deals a week. I mean, just nonstop, just bringing deal after deal after deal. And they were underwriting and underwriting and underwriting. And we got close on a couple of them in through September. And it seemed like as soon as we did the underwriting on it, we were good. We were moving forward. The feds would raise the interest rate, which would then change the deal because a lot of it is financed through the bank. And it kind of shot the money to where it just didn't seem worth it to go through with it. It seemed like every time we had momentum going, that's what happened. And then we got shut out. So super frustrating to go through all of that for the month of August and September, just bringing deal after deal. So toward the end of September, we sat down and did a team meeting again and said, how about this? Instead of going after these giant multi-million-dollar deals and trying to make sense of it, what if we did the same kind of strategy for smaller multifamily, 10 units or less, or single-family houses, and try to tackle everything that way? So that way, if the Fed raises the rates, it's not as big of a dollar valuation. Therefore, it's not going to be that big of a shake. You know what I mean? So
Right.
You should be able to just transition easily and maybe take down one or two more deals that way.
So up to this point, what type of marketing strategy were you guys doing? Were you guys doing like off market, on market? Were you guys texting, cold calling? Were you guys sending out letters?
Off market, on market, and then a lot of agent outreach. That's what I was doing. So we didn't do any mailers, didn't pull any lists or anything like that because we were all kind of in our own way, starting out with a very tight budget. You know, we didn't have a lot of money to put into business. We were trying to create something from nothing. So
I love this.
To try to go into it with little to no money out of pocket and make something work. That's the goal that we were trying to set. So we refocused our direction, went from big multifamily to small multifamily, and then we're throwing in single families. And by making that simple switch and keeping the same, structure, I'm bringing in acquisitions. They're doing the underwriting. Nick is a licensed agent for 10 years in upstate New York. So he was very comfortable with the contracts and did all of our TC work. We put 6 properties under contract in October, ended up closing on 4 of the 6. One of them failed an inspection for the foundation, and the other one, the buyer backed out on us. Her daughter had a issue that she wanted to move her into that house instead and just kind of backed out on us. So we closed 4 out of the 6 that month. November, I think we closed 4 or 5 deals in November. We closed 3 or 4 deals in December. Closed a 7-unit portfolio in January, and it just seemed like it steamrolled after that.
Wow.
We bought our first property in October, and from October to now, I think we're 46 doors, 47 doors since October is what we've acquired. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's been
Crazy would be an understatement, bro. Right. Man, what you guys have been doing is absolutely phenomenal, man. Yeah. So when you got together with your partners and you started putting these pieces together, you mentioned you were kind of handling the acquisition side of things. Were you bringing on people to work with you and help you find these deals to hand off to underwriting, or is it just you, or
just me? Yeah,
just you.
Me. Yep. Because I went through so many wholesalers and things like that when I was looking at the multifamily, I had a lot of those relationships already built. I was talking to all of them. I think 45 or 50 different wholesalers is like every day, every other day. I was messaging them, calling them, sending them an email. Hey, do you got anything, this, and this? This is our buy box. This is what we're looking for. Try to get creative deals, and just, like I said, relentless progression. Keep hitting these people over and over and over again to where they know you're serious and they're going to want to bring things to you. So because I'd already built that wholesaler relationships, I had my own network with that. I had a lot of relationships with agents and things like that. They did the same thing. Hey, every week I'm contacting these people 20 and 30 times, a week. Hey, this is what I'm looking for, this type of thing. I see your listing, would this be something interesting? I would go through every brokerage within 30 miles and stop and talk to the agents face to face, say, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're doing. If you have any issues, call me. This is my card, and continue to build the network of people that consistently see deals, right? These people see deals every single day. That's all they do is find a deal, sell a deal, right?
Mhm.
And I started leveraging those networks, those communications that I had, that I built up from doing the wrong thing all of that time. So it's not necessarily the wrong thing. It just wasn't right for what we were doing at that time. But like I said, shifting your vision into something smaller, something a lot more manageable, especially coming out of pocket for nothing. You know what I mean? That's a huge switch, you know, and it allows me to bring the deals in that we would normally do. So yeah, that was kind of the transition that we had.
That is really interesting, and it just goes to show that, you know, for everybody who's like, man, I don't have the money, I don't have the resources, I don't have prop stream, I don't have the time to call these leads, I don't have, like, you guys have virtually no overhead, and now you own over 40 doors. And what is that? 9 months, 10 months?
Yeah, something like that.
Since October, man, that is absolutely unreal. Were all these purchased creatively, or
95%?
Did you guys?
Yeah,
95% of them were creative.
Wow. I think we bought 2 deals cash just because they were very, very inexpensive. But so one of them, my partner Mike has had money in a HELOC that he had set aside. He purchased it with his HELOC money, but we're paying him a preferred interest rate, just like he was a private money lender coming in.
On that
cash. So it cash flowed, you know, for a duplex in Pittsburgh, it makes $1,800 a month. So there's plenty of room there to be able to pay him out his, you know, interest rate every month out of the cash flow, and then, you know, make money above that. So we did that on that one, and then another duplex in Ohio. We bought cash just because it was very inexpensive. It was $30,000. We borrowed rehab costs to renovate that duplex, the downstairs unit, renovated it. And I think we get $1,500 a month out of it. We bought it for $30,000. So, yeah. Other than that, everything else has been creative.
That's
and if that's just not a testament, man, to, you know, when you set your mind to something, you're relentless in your pursuit. And also, the more you have to, like, growing your network and talking to people has to become a foundation. It has to be part of your business plan. It has to be part of your business strategy. I know Chris and I have shared this before, and it's something we continue doing. But that was one of the things that Chris and I did. We spent, when we first got into business together last June, actually, coincidentally enough, Chris and I became business partners last June. In the first 60 days, we were doing 40 hours a week and just networking and just talking to people and doing the same thing you're doing, figuring out what are you doing? What are you after? Where can we be of service? Where can we come into alignment? Just being really intentional with those conversations. Now, at the time, our efforts were centered around wholesaling, but literally same thing, where we had no overhead. I paid for an upgraded Zoom account, so that cost me like $120 a year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so we had virtually no overhead, man. And within the first 60 days, you know, we did over $72,000 in wholesaling net. And yeah, it's just been growing ever since, man. It's been a staple in mine and Chris's business ever since. We set time and time block times every single day for meeting with new people. So yeah, it's neat to hear it from a different perspective on how you can take that same concept and with a very targeted avenue, whether you're wholesaling, whether you're buying and holding, you know, whatever it is, and just multiply, just amplify what you're doing, man. This is really absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest hurdle in all of this? Like, what was the biggest thing in getting this momentum? Because you said you failed a lot, you learned a lot. Like, looking back, if you were to restart that entire process again today,
yeah,
what would you do to shortcut that?
I would build a lot more relationships with private money first. We were searching deals before we were searching money. So we ran across, if I would have spent the same amount of time as I did finding multifamily deals, you know, the hours and hours and hours that I networked and built all of that, to commit myself to finding private money or equity partners on deals, I probably would have 200 doors by now. You know, we've walked away from deals early on that were 10 unit, 15 unit, 20 unit deals that probably could have taken down, that we didn't have the money in place to be able to lock them in. You know what I mean? And they weren't interested in doing wholesales or anything like that. You know, we built the rapport with the sellers at the time that, you know, we were going to be the buyers and structuring the deal creatively. They specifically asked us, you know, you're buying, not wholesaling this, you know? So yeah, we ended up having to walk away from a lot of deals because we just did not have that backup that we needed to acquire properties, you know, that we should have. So the first thing I would have done is have your money in place, have people, relationships, you know what I mean? That if you find something, it's not going to hold you back that you don't have the money in place. You know, deals come every day. You can find a deal, you know, easy. Finding somebody that you have a relationship with that trusts you to do that deal with you is the difference. And that's the first thing that I would have done. The second thing I would have done is put a lot more emphasis on how to structure your business. If you were looking at, you know, acquiring 20 deals, 30 deals in a year, you know, you need to have an infrastructure for that. You know what I mean? And that's something that we didn't have. We kind of got into things thinking, you know, we need to find a deal, find the money, lock the deal up, buy the deal, you know, not, okay, what are we going to do if this goes wrong? How are we going to utilize these people to make the deal go better? If we're going to flip the house, who are we going to get to list the house? You know what I mean? And building those types of secondary relationships that will help you after you buy the property. We didn't really set that up in the beginning. Like we were just, you know, buyer's fever. Let's get it done. We got another one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's what our focus was, that we would have had a lot less issues later down the road if we were smart on how we were going to structure those day-to-day operations after we acquired that property. A lot of sleepless nights after we acquired the first 15, 20 doors. You know what I mean? Like, well, yeah, what do we do now? You know? So yeah, that would be the second thing. And then I would go on a buyer spree. Let's do some deals. So
go shopping.
I love that. Pam asked an amazing question in the comments. Oh, I'm not sure if you see it. Let's see. Do you have to rehab many of the properties that you bought?
Yes, we do. So that was the other thing that we needed to look at a lot more moving into this. So I have a crew of 4 or 5 guys that work for us that do our rehabs. I met them early on by, you know, my own personal relationships and going through that, you know, they did work on a house that I bought myself, and they were sort of like a handyman, you know, small time construction company. And I talked to them. I said, you know, listen, I'm starting to make traction in this real estate thing. I'm probably going to end up buying some properties and houses that, you know, we're going to have some flips, we're going to have some rentals. So that way the maintenance is kind of a long-term thing. If you give me a set price, you know what I mean, as far as what your hourly rate is, I said, you know, maybe we can work it out to where you just work for me. I keep you busy 40, 50 hours a week and you never miss a paycheck. And then I always have somebody that's working on our properties. And they said, I love that. Perfect. So the going rate for handyman in this area is about $35 or $40 an hour. You know, I pay those guys $20 an hour. You know what I mean? But they do about 50 hours a week for me, and I haven't missed a paycheck since October of last year, you know? So having that relationship and having that going, it allows me to know exactly what my rehab costs every time. You know what I mean? And so because I had those guys kind of in my back pocket, knowing I've got this, you know, rehab costs are going to be lower than what normal people's costs are going to be, you know, we were a lot more comfortable early on buying properties that needed to have rehab and needed to have fixer, you know, kind of a fixer-upper sort of thing, so we can get into those deals better. But the problem that you run into is everybody has limitations. You know what I mean? When you're buying, you know, we bought a portfolio deal that had 7 properties in it. Every one of those 7 properties had some degree of rehab that was needed. You know what I mean? If you have 4 or 5 guys, how long is it going to take for them to do 7 properties, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, great. We'll set them on the first property, then the second property, then the third property. Oh, wait, 2 weeks after that, you have another closing of 3 properties. 2 of the 3 of those need rehab. So how are you going to get from those 7 to those 2? Oh, you just bought an apartment complex that has 10 apartments that all need rehab. Okay, let's do that. So now you got 7 plus the 2 plus another 10. What are you going to do there? You know what I mean? It's all about knowing a balance and knowing how to structure that out. We've gotten to the point now that we're buying purely creative deals that 1 or 2 week cosmetic turnarounds, and then we're off to the races. You know what I mean? We're not doing a lot of heavy rehabs anymore because our time for those guys to be able to go in and do this is a lot more important. If we can get them turned over quickly, then we can either sell them outright and make our profit faster, get our money back into another deal, or we can rent them out immediately and have that immediate cash return. Which is also a hard lesson that we learned in the process.
I think that's amazing. Truly think that's amazing, and more so, Rosia said it earlier. I think your story comes from not being fearful. You're pushing through the fear and more so the limitations. You're not holding yourself back, and I love that. I really love that because a lot of people will face a lot of ups. A lot of people, they don't want to touch multifamily or any units above 2, right? Because essentially you're dealing with a lot of people are more geared to just single family housing, and it's much easier, so to speak. But no, you took a different approach, and I love it. You know, you guys more so fell for it, and a lot of people wouldn't know how to pivot. But I really love the way you kind of niche yourself down to specifically reaching out to these wholesalers and, hey, these are what I'm looking. This is what I'm looking for. This is what their criteria. I love that. I never thought about pursuing it that way. Because sometimes, wholesalers, they don't want to list. Not, I want to say listen. They don't want to understand what you're really looking for. They just want to, hey, send your deal. This is an amazing deal. I got an amazing opportunity. This is a perfect, all the words they utilize, right? But for you to actually take the time to really, stay on top of that and make sure they understand exactly what you're looking for, I think that's phenomenal. That's actually amazing. I really like that.
We've actually had to draw the line. I've actually cut my relationship off with some wholesalers because I told them this is exactly what I'm buying. Yep. If you have this, I'll buy it. If this is not what you're sending me, don't send it to me, because I was wasting 2 hours a day going through emails that they said, hey, this is in your buy box and send it to me. And I have to go through and read this deal and then get to the bottom of it. Oh, it's a cash deal. I don't buy cash deals. I buy creative deals. You know what I mean? So I'm spending 2 hours a day going through dead emails that were never going to work for me anyway, because wholesalers just want to put you on an automatic, this is my mailers list, which is great 90% of the time, send it out to the masses. But, 2 hours of my day is far more valuable to me. Now that we've gotten to where we're at, like 2 hours is, that's a lot of money for me. That's a lot of time that I have to commit to something that's not productive. You know what I mean? I can't waste things in my life now that are not productive. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more.
So I've actually cut off relationships from wholesalers because of that. If you're not going to send me what I need, then you're not going to send me anything that I need, and I'll just, move on to somebody else. So.
Absolutely. Well said, man. Well said. And that's great that you even came to the conclusion you had to do that, because a lot of people would just keep them on the list to just keep it going. And I love the shut off. Trust me, I really do. Because there's actually a perfect example. Even within our business, Jesse and I, we get a lot of people to send us a lot of opportunities, and Jesse and I, we attempt to have those conversations with them, but they don't really try to understand. And I really love what you did, and more so, I kind of want to talk offline exactly as far as what that process really looks like as far as behind the scenes. I know we probably don't have enough time today to go through that, but I would love to pick your brain about a couple things about that and see how we can more so align. And because Jesse and I, we got obstacles in our business as anyone else. So it's more everybody so we just pivot within our business, as Jesse stated, and we're buying. We have quite a few properties in several states. We actually have one in Virginia as well, and over in Hampton. I'm not sure if that's West Virginia or other side, but it's Hampton, Virginia. So, and you mentioned specifically, and I was curious, your crew of 4 or 5. Now, are they only doing things local, or when you do buy things virtually, do you like have them fly out to do that project, or do you keep them local? Or
So Akron, Ohio is about 2 hours away. We bought a house there. I guess we bought it cash as well. They drove there and then they stayed in the house while they were renovating it. So they would bring cots and air mattresses, sleep in the house while they were renovating it Monday through Friday, come home on the weekend, see their wife and kids, and then go back out the next Monday. You know,
I love that.
So yeah, like shout out to those guys. They were committed in the early on because, you know, 1 week they were in Pittsburgh, next week they were in Akron, Ohio, next week they were, you know, back to Carnegie, and like they bounced around for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. That they were sleeping on air mattresses and eating, you know, Walmart rotisserie chicken because the stoves were taken out of the houses, you know. So
no, I love that. I love that, man. And you know, Jesse and I, we properties over in Pittsburgh, and we're buying more in Pittsburgh. So I think we can, if you're open to it, I want to overwhelm you guys, but you know, more so as we take down a lot more properties in Pittsburgh, will you guys be open to that, or is that something I don't want to pull them away to say, hey, here's a project over here?
I mean, if we JV on it together, I'm sure that we can get something to happen.
Gotcha.
I've got enough work, just some properties right now. I've got enough work for the guys for the next 3 or 4 months.
Nice.
And just on what we got right now. And then I've got a couple of big deals kind of in the wheelhouse right now that I'm doing that are going to be kind of groundbreaking for me. So I'm probably going to have them involved in those once we get those. Yeah.
Man, good for you, bro.
Yeah.
Pam asked a great question. I'm curious because Chris and I, we've had a couple fix and flips up here in Anchorage. And dude, getting good contractors wherever you are is difficult. So how did you? What was your vetting process? How did you have to go through a couple different crews or people before you found the right people to, you know, be consistent with helping you scale your business, or what does that look like?
I kind of started out using them for tiny projects. You know what I mean? They come out and they did this one little tiny deal. Like I just needed this like a couple outlets replaced. You know what I mean? An hour job max. By then come out, shut everything off, and do whatever. Have them come out and do simple maintenance things. If you're going, so we're not going to be in a market like we don't own a property that we're not planning on owning 5 or 6 more properties in, right? So if I buy one property there and they come out and they do 1 or 2 little things, if I buy 5 more properties there and they did these, you know, 1 or 2 little things good, then I'm going to start using them for the rest of those, right? If they didn't do it well, if they didn't communicate, if they overcharged, if it, you know, whatever they did, cycle through and find somebody else that'll come in and do the next little job and do 2 or 3 little tiny jobs to where you're not putting all of your bankroll on a project that they're going to disappoint you on. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
And just kind of work through it that way. We've had a couple of guys that joined the crew that we've had to vet out after they joined the crew. You know what I mean? And like I said, my general foreman that started with everything is kind of the measuring stick. If they come in and listen and are committed to doing it, you know, they're making $1,000, $1,200 a week. You know what I mean? Coming out and doing a job. If they don't want to have that in their pockets to bring home every week, then we just move on to somebody else. There's no shortage of people in this area that would like to learn something to make a decent wage. You know what I mean? So the fact that I've always got these guys working, they never miss a check unless they want to. You know, if they go on vacation, they'll let me know, and that is what it is. But guaranteeing that they're never going to miss it. There's a couple of weeks that we were kind of in between properties that we had for the business. I brought them into my personal house and had them do work in my personal house and paid them out of my pocket and not the business to keep them working. You know what I mean? Because we were, you know, the closing got extended and we thought it was going to work out perfectly.
Wow.
It did. So, you know, that's how we've been successful up to this point.
I love that.
Man, that is amazing. Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah, and Pam mentioned like that is a great a lot of people do fear that, because even like Jesse just stated, we was definitely going through some hiccups, like finding a right contractor, even with some of the fix and flips we have over there, and doing it virtually could be difficult as well, especially if you don't have the right team in place, right? And it just literally actually, I'm gonna tell you what happened. No more so, one of our contractors, he had all the best reviews in the world. I don't know, maybe it was a family or he did it himself. I don't know, but he had a 5-star review.
Yeah.
But we hired him and we moved. We spent about what, Jesse, about $15,000-$20,000 for just him to do the first part of the renovation, and then, well, actually the total renovation, and then we had to hire another contractor and paid him to replace everything he did.
Yeah.
Everything.
So my view on it, we're coming from a construction background. I don't trust anybody. Like, I still don't even trust my general foreman completely. You know what I mean? So you're never going to trust the right person, Pam. That's just not going to happen. When I got into the construction, there was an old school guy that I learned a lot from, and he told me all the time, tell them what you expect and inspect what you expect. So have them go out and do this job, and then have another contractor come out and inspect that job to make sure it was done appropriately, right? If it's done right and everything like that, you're going to have a little bit more initial costs by bringing that second opinion in after the fact. But the peace of mind that you're going to have once you get into those bigger jobs is going to be worth that little bit of extra money you're going to have up front. You know what I mean? Or after everything's done, home inspectors are a really vital thing. You can spend $300 and have a home inspector come through and do a full walkover on your house, that you can make sure everything was done the way it needs to be. So that way you can either put it on the market, or it's safe for government inspections for HUD Section 8, if that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? And it's very, very inexpensive as compared to having to go in and redo everything again. You know what I mean? Yep. Also, with a home inspector, if you have a shoddy contractor that comes in and does a shoddy job, that $300 inspection is going to be proof that you can go to court and say, hey, he was supposed to do this, 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 and this. This has all been done wrong. We have the contract stating what the scope of work is. He owes me, money in return. And you can try to reclaim your money that you spent on that bad contractor. You know what I mean? And the fact that most inspectors have to be licensed in the state to be able to verify that makes them an expert that guy did you wrong for you to reclaim your money.
Glad we got that one recorded.
Right.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Wow. Where do you guys? Yeah, that's great advice, man. Where do you guys see yourself heading the rest of the year? The next, what do we got? 4 months left, 4.5 months left or so left in the year. And then what are you guys doing next year?
This year, are
you guys still focused on that 10 and below, or are you guys going to start going into bigger stuff as well, 100, 200 plus units?
Our focus right now is to buy as many doors as possible in my local market. That's our vision moving forward. Predominantly, okay. If they're single family, we want 3 and 4 bedrooms. If they're multifamily, we want as many bedrooms as possible. My local market is about to explode, where there's going to be another multi-billion-dollar plant that's being built basically in my backyard. So we're trying to buy as many of these 3 and 4 bedroom houses, so that way, when that plant goes, there's not enough housing for the construction workers that are going to come. There's going to be 10,000, 12,000 construction workers moving to this area to build that plant. There's not enough housing for them. There's not enough hotels or anything. It's kind of a rural area. So our goal is to buy as many single families as possible, convert them over to kind of a pad split mentality. Pad split is not in this area, but we're going to take their business strategy and kind of implement it ourselves. So where we're going to break these up bedroom by bedroom and do our own pad split for all of these construction workers coming in. A 4-bedroom house, we can get $300 to $400 a week per bedroom on a 4-bedroom house. Most 4-bedroom houses in my market, I can acquire for $70,000 to $120,000. So you look at what the rate of return is going to be for something like that. One single house is going to be, worth its weight in gold in less than a year. So if we can acquire 50 of those, then it's going to be astronomical.
So
that's my.
So Eric, those who don't know, what is your markets?
Right now, it's Ohio, West Virginia, and Western PA are the markets that we buy in specifically. We try to stay within a 2-hour window of St. Clairsville, Ohio, Wheeling, West Virginia. I'm right on the border of Ohio and West Virginia, so we typically just draw a 2-hour circle around that. So that way, like I said, if my guys need to go and do repairs on something, they're not gone forever, ever, and ever, like driving 4 hours away one way and then 4 hours back. You're losing a whole day in travel for that week. You know what I mean? So we're trying to be more efficient with that, but essentially within a 2-hour circle of that. But predominantly, everything that's on the Ohio River is what I'm really, really focusing on right now, because that's where that plant's going to be built at. So.
Now, I'm not a geography wizard, but most people who are that I know who are investing in Ohio are focused in Columbus, and Cincinnati's kind of sparse. And I've been told that Cleveland, like I don't know anybody who's doing stuff in Cleveland. I've heard Cleveland is the worst out of everything in Ohio. Just there's terrible pockets and stuff in Cleveland. Is that the case, or where are you guys working specifically in Ohio?
So we've done one property in Columbus. Columbus is, I believe, the number 9th fastest growing city in the country. Huge market, tons of money there, tons and tons of money. But because there's tons and tons of money there, it is ultra competitive. It's the city of Columbus is essentially like the entire state of Florida. Everything is being thrown through the roof as far as purchase prices and everything like that, because there's that much money coming in that it dictates that. So if you want to be in the most competitive market and try to get the most out of your money, wholesale in Columbus, there's millions of buyers. I mean, just it's insane. Cleveland is not a market that I really want to be in. 45% of Cleveland are duplexes. That's what the makeup is for Cleveland. But unless you know the market, unless you are in Cleveland or exclusively deal in Cleveland, you could be buying a duplex for $40,000 that's in some of the worst parts when you thought it was in the west parts. And I'm not that familiar with those markets to know and feel comfortable with having that investment there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So not so much in Cleveland. We have a property in Akron. Akron has both a university and a giant hospital. So midterm rentals, we're looking for Cleveland to do traveling nurses. Yeah, I do only buy creative right now to answer that question in the chat. But like I said, predominantly, I'm just getting insane deals in my local market right by the river. I've got a unicorn agent right now that is bringing me 1 or 2 deals a week, creative, that are on market and people just can't get past it. So some of those we're going to keep, some of them we're going to wholesale because we've got an influx of properties right now. There's another agent that is working with me in West Virginia on the West Virginia side. She's brought me 2 or 3 deals. And then as soon as it's kind of a trickle down effect with those agents. If you have a good agent that wants to buy into this, when they close that deal, they'll tell the other people in their brokerages, hey, this guy's serious. Like, he had the money here. He paid the commission. He covered closing costs, everything like this. And they're like, well, what else is he buying? And then 2 more agents will call me within 3 days, and it's like a trickle down effect. They have to see it work in these smaller markets, right? Yeah. In larger markets, everybody's doing everything. So they've heard a little bit about it and they're somewhat savvy about it. But smaller markets like what I'm shopping in, unless they have a proof of concept, then you're just somebody else that is wasting their time. As soon as they have that proof of concept, it's insanely competitive with the agents. They want you to do the next 3 deals with them because they know you're buying and they know that it's, it's almost a guarantee that they're going to get to the closing table. So it's been a pretty, I was getting laughed out of the room last summer by agents in my local market. Like literally, oh, that'll never work here. They were laughing me out of it. And I've closed, I want to say 5 deals creatively in my local market since then. I'm getting ready to buy I'm buying a marina creatively in my local market right now. I just went under contract with it earlier this week. It's going to be
Congrats.
a $2 million acquisition that I'm doing creatively. And those agents are going to look at, I mean, nobody really knows about it except for, your podcast right now, but nobody in the local market really knows about it until it's done. The sellers kind of wanted to keep it on the down low. But as soon as it's done, it's going to hit the market like wildfire, and it's going to definitely put me on the map. So the same people that were laughing me out of their office last year for, $100,000 house, I'm going to be able to go to them and say, hey, I told you creative works. I just bought a $2 million marina that makes $1 million a year off of it. And this is what I was trying to get you to do last year. So you want to bring me some properties now and let's have some conversations. Come down. I'll buy you lunch at my marina. Let's get a deal. So yeah.
Dude, phenomenal, man. Well, we've got about 4 minutes left. So if you guys got any other questions for Eric, please get them in here in the chat. But I want to ask you something real quick. I know we've talked about a lot, brother. And thank you very much for sharing your story and what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
It's really inspirational to hear what people are doing with, next to, no overhead, no less. So there's really no excuses for anybody to not be out here doing this. We've talked about building relationships with wholesalers and vetting contractors. One thing I'd like to dive into real quick, just over maybe a minute or so, is there's a lot of people right now, especially who are doing like the Elephant Challenge, or for a lot of people, that's their avatar is DTA, direct to agent. And I've had a lot of people come to me asking, hey, how do I pitch creative? And I've kind of had my own way of explaining creative to agent that I think has worked for me. But with where you are right now and that being such a major part of your business, what are some of the things that you're doing to build these relationships with these agents to get them to understand creative and to continually start working with you?
It's important. The thing that I think I do better than what most people do with agent outreach is I learn how their agency works. Every agency, the brokers have a different way of doing it, whether it's their commission split, whether it's a profit sharing, kind of a setup with the agents and how the agents are getting paid and how they're being able to close deals. EXP, for instance, is one of the, big up and coming agencies in the country. They have a sort of a profit sharing model where one agent will bring in two agents. Those two agents, when they sell, the first agent will get a percentage of their commissions and kind of a profit share. And then they can recruit agents. And when they recruit agents, those agents will get them money, and then they will get the one agent money. And it's almost like a big umbrella. The more agents that they bring into EXP to get more deals done, the more money that one person will make. So if you find one of those agents that's consistently recruiting other agents in, and they're getting profits off of all of their deals, have that agent be your best friend, because they will recommend to all of the agents they brought underneath of them to do deals with you, because they're getting a percentage of every one of their deals too. So you may not do the deal with Jan, but Jan brought in Jill, Brian, and Dave. You know what I mean? They're going to recommend those three agents to work with you as well. So that way they can get a percentage of that deal as well. So the more they recommend you, the more options you're going to have, the more deals you're going to be able to see, and the more money they're going to make. So knowing how each firm kind of works and structures is a huge tool, because you can kind of leverage what you know to make sure that they're getting the most out of each deal they bring you. That's ultimately what they want. They want an investor to get to them as much money as possible. And whether that's referring deals, I mean, if you're meeting with sellers that want cash only and it's not really make sense as a wholesale, you recommend them to those sellers and they can put it on the MLS. They're going to make money off of relationships that you're building. You know what I mean? So making sure that you're getting the most for those agents as what their brokerages allow has been the biggest thing that's been successful for me.
I really like that. And I would assume most of it has been from being intentional with, like you said, you're if they're within 30 miles, I believe you said, you're going in there, right? And you're actually in person, shaking their hand and saying, hey, this is who I am. This is how I'd love to, make you some money. Yeah.
And I've actually made, a couple of videos. I've done some printouts on deals that we've done, how we've structured them on a sub-2 deal. This is how we did this sub-2 deal. It was on the market for 130 days. person lived out of state, their mother died, and they don't have any way of dealing with it. There's no equity left in the deal because they did a refinance a little while ago. This is, what can you do? And that's how we showed them on paper. This is how we did this deal. We paid the 100% of the commission out of our pocket. We cover all closing costs. We did a 12-month balloon because our strategy was to go in, fix it up to where instead of it being worth $95,000, it's now worth $150,000. And then we can refinance it because it's worth so much more after we did the rehab. You know what I mean? Putting new floors, paint, update it. You know what I mean? So within 12 months, we were able to refinance out, get them all of their money, but the agent got paid immediately and everything moved forward as it should have. You know what I mean? Being able to show them those successes and show them what you can do with a creative deal that they would never sell anyway. There was no equity left in the deal. Buyers were saying like, can you come down on the price? They said, no, there's nothing left to go down on. That's what they owe on it. So they can't take less than what they owe. You know what I mean? So being able to build those relationships and show exactly what you've done that can help them is paramount for them to believe in it and buy into it. And once they do, they're going to bring you every deal they got because it makes sense then.
I love that. And Pace has talked about that a lot as well. Even just in some of his most recent stuff he's been doing for the community, talking about just, hey, take a Zoom, create a Loom, create something that you can streamline that process and show proof of concept and just expedite a lot of that back and forth and save yourself a lot of time as well. So we got two more questions real quick that we'll kind of just breeze over. Shane asked, how did you structure the creative financing on some of those deals? I know you mentioned Morby method. Do you have a lot of hybrid, subto, seller finance, Morby method?
90% of the deals we're doing are either seller finance or a hybrid subto deal. Just so that way we can do it. We did a 6 units that was a hybrid deal. Gentleman works 50 hours a week at a warehouse job. He owns a bunch of multifamilies because he heard multifamilies on bigger pockets were the best to invest in. So he thought, perfect. He went out and bought a bunch of multifamilies, duplexes. He bought a 6-plex. And then when he went through to try and do the maintenance on it or have to go through and do all the showings to fill in vacancies, like it took a lot of his time and a lot of effort for him to keep those multifamilies going by himself. And it was difficult for him to do the vetting and to walk through, contractors coming in and doing work and stuff like that, just because he works 50 hours a week, also.
Right.
So he's came to me and he's basically liquidating all of his multifamily to me. We already bought a 6-plex off of him that, had tons of deferred maintenance. We got a really good deal. We took it over at, I think, a 4% interest rate. And then we're paying him an extra $15,000 or $20,000 above that on seller finance, a couple $100 a month for the next 4 or 5 years, just so that way we can take it off his hands and run with it. Once we get it to pro forma, we'll cash flow about $2,800 a month off that. You know what I mean? So paying him a couple $100 for the next couple of years is not that big of a deal.
100%.
As far as the brokers that the agents are under, I've had a couple of conversations with brokers. So sub-2s are tricky because they're not familiar with it. They don't see the benefit in a sub-2 because they feel like the sellers are at risk. I explained to them we do servicing companies on all of our sub-2s. We pay 2 months ahead, basically blueprint of what Pace sets up. We pay 2 months ahead to where if we miss 1 month and it, miss a payment or whatever, they can come back and take the property over and everything they get to keep ahead of that. So it never hurts the seller at that point. And we give them enough of a down payment or whatever to where the risk is worth the reward for them. So if we miss a month, they repossess the property. By the second month is already paid as well. By the time they get to the third month that they had to retake the property, they got $6,000 or $8,000. They should be able to cover that payment, no problem. And then they can always go and sell it on the MLS again anyway. You know what I mean? It never really hurt them. But by that point, we already went in, we updated everything, put in new flooring, put in new paint, put in new fixtures and everything to make it look a lot nicer, to where they should be able to get their full asking price on the market now, because it's what it should have been when they listed it the first time as far as the appeal and everything. Once I explain that and show them the paperwork, brokers typically don't have an issue with it. They still, a couple of them, wanted us to use their contracts and then just add our verbiage in as addendums because they said, well, I paid my attorney this much money to draw this contract up. I'm not wasting it on you, you know, the rest of it, you know what I mean? We've kind of had that on a couple of brokerages, but for the most part, as long as we execute, you know, and that's the important part. Don't go into a brokerage deal. Don't go into a real estate deal unless you are positive you can execute. Because as soon as you don't hit the closing table like you tell them they're going to, or even if you're wholesaling it, you know what I mean? If you're not hitting that closing table, they will never give you another chance. Yeah. You've ruined the relationship. It doesn't matter if there were outstanding circumstances. If you're going to wholesale a deal, make sure you have a plan B to where you can still close and then assign the deal as a double close to somebody else. You have to make sure you get to the closing table if you're doing agent outreach. Those relationships are worth, you know, they're weighting, 10 times more than what that one deal is going to be if you lose that relationship. So
absolutely.
That would be
well said. Well said. Well, brother, dude, Eric, this has been phenomenal. Thank you. I know we've gone a little bit over, so thank you for allowing us to take up an hour and 11 minutes of your time. This has been awesome, man. It's been just absolutely action packed. It almost feels like if a Tom Cruise movie could be in a podcast, like that's what I feel like this is right here, bro. Like,
yeah,
there's just so much. Yeah, it's been great, man. It's been absolutely awesome. There's been so many great nuggets that you've shared with us. Tons of value. Thank you again for your time. Where can everybody reach out to you? Can people do deals with you? I know Rocio asked if if you were just buying creative. Sounds like you're only buying creative. Where can everybody reach out to you if they want to do deals with you?
Facebook, Instagram, the Eric Richards on Instagram. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I've actually brought on a girl full time in our company now to do our property management because we've got so many doors, and she's gonna start taking over my my social media as well because I just cannot find the time to do that as much as I should. I'm really focusing personally on kind of building a brand and showcasing the stuff that I'm doing, both with my partners and without my partners on my own. The marina deal is something that I'm taking on myself. My two partners are not a part of that deal. So, and then I've got some big developments coming in the forefront too. I'm going to start getting into development and showcasing on how to do creative development as well. And I don't think that's enough. That's not something that's really been highlighted in subto as much. And then I'm also working on a whole nother deal where I'm using my relationships that I've built in my local market to have a couple of small banks utilize our company as a third-party administrators for their pre-foreclosures. So before people go into foreclosures, they, right before they send them the initial foreclosure paperwork saying, you're this far behind, we're going to begin a foreclosure process. Instead of us filing that foreclosure on you, you should definitely reach out to this company. They're affiliated with us. They can help you get out of your situation through multiple, creative ways. You should definitely call them and talk to them. And if the bank is bringing us those people, we have zero overhead costs for pulling pre-foreclosure lists. The boogeyman itself is out of the closet because if the bank is bringing us those people, they're not going to file a due on sale clause because they're recommending these people. And we can utilize the subto community for what it is. It's just a vast amount of people that have resources and information to take care of these types of problems. So whether it's short sales that need to be done, we have short sale experts. Whether it's private money to be able to catch up arrears and then be able to list it on the MLS, novation agreements, things that we can go in and fix it to get these people out of the hole. There's no shortage of a way of doing that. And having a bank bring it to us is a revolutionary part of it. I think it's the next evolution in subto. I really do. So
that's genius, bro.
Love it.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Once we get the smaller banks to do it, and I do 3 or 4 months of it to where we have kind of a proof of concept, then I'm going to start getting to larger banks and do more regional, instead of just this small market. Okay, let me do, this region of Ohio and show you what we can do with a larger scale. And then ultimately approach a Chase Bank or a Bank of America and say, hey, with these smaller regional banks, we save them on average $25,000 out of pocket because they didn't have the overhead of their employees filing the paperwork. They didn't have any of the legal causes. They didn't lose a single day of money for these loans that they thought they were going to have the money generated coming in. Their interest was paid. Everything was covered. They saved per property on average $25,000 per property. And we did this 300 times. Imagine if we did the same thing for you on a national scale, the amount of money that you can save instead of just throwing it all away and doing your typical pre-foreclosure process. I genuinely think that that's going to be the evolution of subto as a whole on pre-foreclosures. So
I love that.
I'm working on getting that going as well. So
that's amazing, man. That is amazing. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So yeah, so all you guys out there that's saying, I don't have time to do this or don't do that. Yeah, you do. Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. So, Eric, once again, how do they get up? How do they reach out to you? Facebook, Instagram? Which one do you prefer? I know you say you're gonna have somebody.
Facebook. Yeah,
Facebook.
I'm majoring into Facebook. It's still the leader of the pack as far as being able to connect with people right now. So yeah, Facebook would be the easiest. Eric Richards on Facebook. There is a Rich Investments Group LLC is our business's Facebook page. I'm getting it developed, and that's what my property manager's kind of taking the lead on because, like I said, I don't have a lot of time to commit to doing that, so I'm outsourcing it to more capable hands. But
what a blessing, bro! What a blessing to be so busy to say I don't even got time to post on Facebook, man.
I've really been trying to do a lot more in subto just because I want to go to these like community camps and stuff like that. The pace is throwing out there, and you got to have that activity for it. But the struggle's real, man. Like I said, I'm still doing 6:30 in the mornings when I'm on the laptop answering emails, getting things going, and I don't typically stop until 11 or 12 o'clock at night, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, off to the races.
I love it. Thanks again for coming on today. We truly appreciate this. I know I received a lot of value, and I definitely love the connect more offline. I know we don't have enough time today to really deep dive into your business, but Jesse and I would love to hop on the Zoom and see what the next steps look like. But guys, if you had received any value from Eric, please share, take a screenshot, let people know what he's doing, and let people know that it is possible. You don't need to know every little thing in real estate to acquire this many doors. 45 plus doors within, what was it, a year now? A little bit over a year now?
9 months?
9 months. Yeah, October up to now. Yeah.
There's no excuse at all. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. That's amazing. That's very interesting, and I love it, guys. Again, don't forget to subscribe. We're on all platforms. Whatever you got, an iPhone, Android, or if you don't have either devices, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, all the platforms out there. So, guys, we're going to be back next week, 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, Jesse, happy birthday, man. Enjoy your time with your family.
Thank you, brother.
You definitely deserve it. I hear the little ones in the background. Tell them to say hey. Tell Alex to say hey.
I will. Chris James says hey, fam.
Amazing. Until next time, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the House of Cards podcast with Chris James and Jesse Stanton. We hope you've enjoyed this episode and have learned something new about real estate investing. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more tips and tricks. And don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Until next time.